We want to make sure that this actually does stop. Every day in the newspapers, we have pictures of people's daughters and sons who have been killed in mysterious circumstances. And every time, we are told that the investigation's going on.
The West Police Station in Kiambu County are tonight burning the midnight oil to unravel the tragic murder of a 23-year-old university graduate.
The deceased Seth Nyakio Njeri went missing after she had left her parents' home in Kamakis, only for her body to be discovered at a rented house within Biafra, Thika, on Monday.
Now, the body had visible injuries of strangulation.
I saw visible injuries this side and this side. I found my daughter. My daughter lied peacefully, a good soul. You could even think we are talking to each other because the body was too, the spirit had not departed away from me, and the body and the friendship. And she was the one.
Preliminary investigation revealing she had been strangled. Police say the assailant sexually abused the deceased before committing the heinous act.
She was Seth Nyakio Njeri. She was 23 years old, a recent university graduate, a daughter, an only child, a young woman with plans, with dreams, with a smile that everyone who knew her could describe in detail without even pausing to think. She left home on Saturday morning in October 2024 in a good mood, telling her mother she was going to visit a friend, and she never came back. This is her story, and I want to tell it properly because Seth Nyakio deserves more than a headline. To keep this voice alive and this community growing, like, comment, and subscribe to Dark Echoes 254. Dark Echoes 254. Seth Nyakio Njeri was born on January 26, 2001. She grew up in Kamakis, that area along the Thika Road corridor near Ruiru and Kiambu County, as the only child of Honorable Lucy Njeri Mwaniki, a nominated member of County Assembly in Kirinyaga County. An only child. That detail matters, and I'll come back to it. From what her mother and friends have shared, Seth was one of those people who just had a warmth about her. Jovial, outgoing, the kind of person who connected easily with everyone she met, regardless of age. Her mother described her as lovable, charming, and deeply respectful. Friends remember her bright smile and curly hair and the way she carried herself, with confidence but without arrogance. She wasn't just likable, she was ambitious. At different points growing up, she had told her mother she wanted to be a neurosurgeon, then a teacher. She eventually found her path in communication. She graduated from Tech University in Thika with diploma in mass communication. And even as fresh graduate, she wasn't sitting still. She was already stepping into entrepreneurship, already figuring out what her next chapter would look like. Her mother had talked about how the journey through school wasn't always smooth. Things weren't always easy, but Seth pushed through with determination. She was the kind of person who didn't give up. And the relationship between Seth and her mother Lucy, it was close, genuinely, visibly close. Lucy had called her daughter her everything, her angel, her best friend. During her own political journey as an MCA, Seth was her loudest cheerleader, always encouraging her, always showing up. They were a unit, a mother and her only child navigating life together. That bond is important to understand because it's also what makes the way the story ends so unbearable. She was not just likable, she was ambitious. She had survived things too. Earlier that same year, April 2024, Seth was hit by a car while out. A white Lexus plate KCM 800C struck her and fled the scene. A stranger named Dennis stopped, saw her on the ground and rushed her to the hospital. Her mother posted about it publicly on Facebook that same day, furious, asking Kenyans to help locate the driver. She survived. 6 months later, she left home on a Saturday morning in high spirits, heading to Thika to see a friend. She had already survived one thing that should not have happened to her. Saturday, October 12, 2024. Seth left the family home in Kamakis in high spirits. She told her mother she was going to visit her friend Phoebe Mwende, a student at a university in Thika, and that she would be back home by Sunday evening at the latest. Lucy Njeri later recalled that there was nothing unusual about that morning. No tension, no argument, no bad feelings. Her daughter was happy, excited even. Seth went to Phoebe's rented apartment in Blessings Building, Biafra Estate, a low-cost residential area in the outskirts of Thika town. They spent the weekend together. There was a swimming outing with friends. Photos were taken. Seth was in the pictures, smiling, swimming, enjoying herself. And throughout that evening, she was in constant contact with her mother. Texts, calls, updates. She even sent the swimming photos home. That was just how they operated. Seth never went long without checking in, and her mother never went long without knowing where she was or how she was doing. Communication continued into Sunday, October 13th, and then gradually it went quiet. Calls started going unanswered. Messages sat on delivery. Lucy waited, called again, but nothing. She would later say that she always updated her. When her phone went unanswered, she feared the worst. By the time Sunday night turned into Monday, the silence had become something else entirely. It had become dread. Monday morning, 14th October 2024, Phoebe Mwende told police that she left Seth sleeping in the apartment early that morning while she went into Thika town to run some personal errands. Seth was alive when she left, or at least that is what Phoebe told investigators. Phoebe returned to the apartment around 4 p.m. and she found Seth's body. She called the police. Thika police officers arrived at the scene. What they found was a 23-year-old woman alone in a room, naked with visible bruising around her neck. There was blood. There were bruises on her cheeks, her thighs, other parts of her body. The bruisings that tells you she didn't go without a fight. The postmortem was conducted by Dr. John Mathaya and Dr. Charles Muturi. Their findings were clear. Seth Nyakio Njeri died from manual strangulation. Pressure had been applied to her neck. Her nose and mouth had also been covered with a palm, cutting off her air supply completely. She suffocated. The evidence also pointed to sexual assault before her death. She was just 23 years old. Lucy Njeri learned about her daughter's death not through official police channels first, but through a call. A friend reached out to tell her. She has spoken about arriving there and seeing Seth lying in that room and how despite everything, despite the horror of it, her daughter somehow looked peaceful. That detail has stayed with people who follow this story. It does not make it less of a tragedy. It makes it worse somehow. Now, who did this? Investigations pointed almost immediately to a young man named Ken Kimathi Kichunuku. He went by the alias Sultan. He was 26-year-old at the time of the murder, 27 by the time he was arrested. He was a student at Thika Technical Training Institute, and here is the thread that connects him to the apartment. Ken Kimathi was Phoebe Mwende's boyfriend, or rather, he had been in a turbulent, fragile relationship with her. The relationship was already falling apart, and according to investigators and family accounts, Kimathi has been fixating on Seth. He blamed her. He believed that Seth had been pressuring Phoebe to end the relationship, that Seth was the reason Phoebe was pulling away from him. Whether that was true or not, in his mind, Seth was the problem. Police established that Kimathi was the last person seen entering and leaving that apartment. He had access to the building. He knew Seth was there, and after her body was discovered on October 14th, he was gone. What investigators also uncovered, and this is important, is that Ken Kimathi was not new to violence. Just weeks before Seth's murder on September 25th, 2024, he had appeared in court in charges of threatening to kill someone. The DCI would later describe him as dangerous to anyone he believed might expose him. This was a pattern, not an explosion out of nowhere. Police in Thika came close to arresting him on October 23rd, just 9 days after the murder, but he slipped through. He escaped their dragnet. Then a second time, then he vanished. For over a year, Ken Kimathi was nowhere. While Seth's mother was burying her only child, while the country was talking about femicide, while women were marching in the streets demanding answers, Sultan was hiding. He didn't stay in one place. According to police reports, he moved across counties: Kiambu, Nairobi, Meru, Tharaka Nithi, Nakuru, and eventually all the way to Busia. the town right on the Kenya-Ugandan border. He was smart about it. He avoided owning a mobile phone. He refused to register a SIM card, knowing that detectives use phone triangulation to track people. He understood how the system worked and he stayed off the grid. But here's the thing. Detectives monitoring his parents' phone noticed something. There were regular calls coming in from 2 foreign numbers, one registered in Uganda, one in Burundi. Kimathi wasn't calling home directly, but he was using friends' phones to check in with his parents, to tell them he was safe. Those calls stopped abruptly once his photos started circulating publicly and the family started appealing for information on social media. He went even more underground. He ended up in Busia, working in a cereal distribution shop, living quietly, going about his day, crossing into Uganda sometimes, hiding in plain sight as the DCI would later describe it. And that is where his own mouth undid him. By December 2025, Kimathi had been in Busia for a while. He had a routine, a job, a life that looked from the outside like someone who had simply moved on. Then he got into a confrontation with a friend, an argument that escalated, and in the heat of that argument, Kimathi made a threat. The kind of threat that comes with someone who believes they have already gotten away with the worst thing they could ever get away with. He told the man, according to reports, that he will kill him the same way he had killed the daughter of a Kenyan politician before disappearing. He said it out loud. The man he said it to was shaken. He secretly took a photo of Kimathi. He searched it online and he found exactly who he was looking at. A face on a wanted poster. A man the DCI has been hunting for over a year for murder. The man traced the social media accounts to Seth's mother, Lucy Njeri. He reached out to her directly. She immediately reported the tip to homicide detectives. A covert operation was mounted at the Kenya-Uganda border. On Saturday, December 13, 2025, 14 months after Seth's body was found in that apartment in Biafra Estate, Ken Kimathi Kichunuku, alias Sultan, was arrested. Detectives from the DCI homicide unit alongside officers from Kisii South and Busia moved in. He was in the cereal shop when they took him. He was driven to Nairobi, processed and arraigned at Kiambu Law Courts in December 15, 2025. Prosecutors successfully applied to have him held for 21 days to allow investigators to complete their inquiries. When he appeared in court, he was wearing a yellow hoodie. The hoodie had words printed on it in bold lettering, "Girl Boss." Seth Nyakio Njeri was buried on October 29, 2024 at Lang'ata Cemetery in Nairobi. A funeral service was held first at St. Kalima's Catholic Church in Ruiru. It drew a large crowd. Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru attended. She spoke at the burial. Her words became some of the most quoted from that day. She described Seth as a happy and loving girl and who did not deserve what happened to her. And then she asked something that I think a lot of people in that room were also asking. How did this happen in a such crowded area? The house had over 30 neighbors. Why did no one hear? That question had no clean answer. And that's part of what makes femicide so hard to confront, because it happens in the middle of people, not in the dark, not in isolation, in rentals building with thin walls and 30 neighbors, in broad daylight, in places where theoretically someone should have heard or seen something. At the graveside, Lucy stood up and spoke to her daughter. She thanked Seth for the joy she brought into her life. She talked about the day Seth was born and described her as a bright, lovely and beautiful baby girl. She talked about providing everything for her daughter, educating her, empowering her. And she asked how, after all that, it still wasn't enough to keep her safe. She called for an end to femicide, to violence against women and girls in Kenya. And there she buried her only child. Lucy Njeri was at that hearing and every subsequent one. She walked into that courtroom clutching a framed portrait of her daughter. She has been photographed doing it, holding Seth's face in her hands, standing in the same room as the man accused of killing her. She broke down. She sobbed. She said out loud to the court, "I am broken. Nyakio was my only daughter." And she asked directly, "Why did you rape and kill my daughter?" The DCI, head of homicide, Martin Nyuguto, told the press after the arrest, "The wheels of justice now starts to roll." That phrase, "starts to roll," is doing a lot of work, because for Lucy Njeri, those wheels were already turning from the day she stood at her daughter's grave. From that day she sat alone in the steps of Nairobi railway station during the Christmas holidays, completely alone in a public space, saying she was having the loneliest and most traumatic holiday of her life. She had been carrying this publicly every day, refusing to let Seth be forgotten. Seth Nyakio murder did not happen in a vacuum. 2024 was a year that shook Kenya when it comes to violence against women. Her case landed in the middle of national conversation that was already raw about femicide, about how states respond, about whether women are actually safe in this country. Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja came out publicly around that time to say that gender desks at police stations nationwide were on high alert to deal swiftly with any case of gender-based violence. The DCI was under pressure. The government was under pressure. Women were in the streets, and yet the suspect in Seth's case escaped twice before the homicide department even took over the investigations from local police. The initial handling of the case by Thika police was not fast enough. It was only after public outcry that homicide stepped in. This is a pattern that repeats in case after case in Kenya. The initial investigation drags, the suspect runs, the family is left fighting, and sometimes, as in the case, the only reason the suspect was eventually caught was because he couldn't keep his own mouth shut. Think about what that means. The forensic leads, the phone monitoring, the county hopping trail, all that brought detectives close. But what actually sealed this was a tip. A stranger who took a photo and did an online search. The public doing the work. Justice for Seth came eventually, but it came slowly and sideways, not because the system worked the way it should.